Hi, I'm Danny with BuyRadarDetectors.com, here with Bob Rosagna, President and Head of Product Development with Vail, known online as the Vail Guy. This video, I've really been looking forward to this. We're going to talk about license plate covers, anti-photo and anti-laser license plate covers, and we're going to talk about Vail applied to these license plate covers, and we're even going to get Bob to apply Vail to a photo blur license plate cover. And we're going to look at the results and see what it should look like after an application.
Right. Yeah, well, we sometimes get calls. Unfortunately, there are some supposed experts online that have done some reviews. I like to think of them as hit pieces, to be honest with you. And some of the pictures that have shown Vail applied are just grossly misapplied. And it's like anything. If you over apply something, you can make something either light or dark, and some of the pictures out there or videos are just absolutely ridiculous on how dark they've been made.
Some of the videos that you're talking about, and it is sort of ridiculous because you control, when you're applying the Vail product, you control how dark you make it.
Right.
If you go with several coats, it's obviously going to be darker than if you go with one coat or two coats, which is a more reasonable application. You've got to, obviously more is better, but more is going to obscure the plate more.
Right. Well, and here's the thing. We always say this, and we actually have a revised instruction manual user guide, which we've actually put some pictures in. So you can see proper one coat, proper two coat, not proper heavy coat.
Right.
And the phenomena of Vail is the way it works is two light coats are better than one heavy coat. And it's the nature of, not to get too technical, is the refraction that takes place between two layers. So when you have the underlying plate cover, in this case, one coat of Vail, you let that dry, then you put another coat of Vail, you're actually passing through one layer, you're refracting with the interface to the next coating, and then you're refracting potentially to the interface of the plate.
So you've tested this, and the performance is even better with the two light coats.
Yeah, two light coats, and that not only works for laser from an absorption standpoint, but from the IR absorption. And if we have a camera that's 850 nanometers, which is a sweet spot for some of these systems. Police laser, as you may know, is 904, right, nanometers. 850 is a lot of photo enforcement, 870 kind of deal. And you can clearly see when you're in a true IR camera, the darkness of Vail relative to what you actually see in the visible spectrum. So I'm just going to show you a finished plate cover, for example, and I wanted to do it in a couple ways where you can see this. Obviously, the whole plate's not covered, and here's a Florida plate, bright white. A lot of plates are different colors too. So when you apply Vail, you want to make it should come out to be slightly gray. So when you're on the back of the vehicle, you almost wouldn't notice it because you're not going to see the underlying light. It'll just look a little darker. If you go with a colored plate, like a lot of states have anyway, it's even that much less noticeable. You know what I mean? So, but this is the photo blur, which we're going to talk about briefly. And what I did is I applied 3 different strips here. And this side here is one coat, right? This is a slightly heavier one coat, ever so little bit, slightly darker, and this is 2 light coats. So you can see it's slightly darker in the center, but it's still not bad at all. And
not bad at all. This doesn't look like anything has been applied to this license plate cover. It looks to me like maybe it's a slightly tinted or slightly smoked license plate cover.
Exactly, and if you go to like a Pep Boys, AutoZone, or any of those car stores, people oftentimes will buy tinted plate covers. So again, even when we're indoors here with some lighting, but if you're even outside, it's going to even be that much less noticeable.
Now, would you recommend applying Vail to a plate cover like the photo blur, or just a plain plate cover versus applying directly to the license plate?
Right, that's a good question, Danny. I have found, and we've done a lot of tests, these new white plates are what are called retro-reflective. They have, if you look, like a diamond cut where there's like little magnifications, almost like a, what do you call it, a metallic paint on a car. And you can get a lot of little different reflections. And what we have found is that it can increase and magnify, just like if you're riding at night and you see a jogger with a retro-reflective or the police car or ambulance, you hit that with a light and it's like, woo, really, really bright.
This material is reflective in itself.
Intentionally to do that, correct. So we have found the phenomena is when the plate cover has Vail, and in the case of the photo blur here, where it's a little farther away or further away from the plate, it actually improves the performance of the absorption. With a plate cover, I mean directly with the plate, and again, the nice thing about Vail is we're striving to make it lighter and lighter and lighter, okay? But when you apply it directly, one coat, the phenomena of the retroreflectiveness, you're going to need 2 thin coats. So one of the things we're also going to do is apply it directly to the plate properly, and then we're going to see, and I can do the same kind of thing, 1 coat, 2 coat kind of deal. And once the whole plate's covered, you know, you're not going to see the contrast between an untreated section and a treated section, right? So this is what it should look like when it's properly applied 2 coats, not black. And then you can see the effect of the photo blur, right? Mm-hmm. So, and oftentimes when we mount these things, we pivot the plate a little forward, and that works in 2 ways. It enhances the effect of the blurriness from the side, you know, because it's giving you a few more degrees of angle off to get you that. And it also, if you pivot it forward, reflects some of the laser down to the ground as opposed to back to the LiDAR gun. So it enhances the laser performance as well. So again, this works for laser, and it also works for the IR, photo enforcement license plate readers, and other types of infrared devices. So that's that. And then this is what we're going to do. We're going to start with a photo blur that's untreated, right?
Right, that's right out of the package.
Right out of the package, and then with Vail. So it's not that much of a difference. Just got to be applied properly and not over applied.
Okay, let's take a look at the application.
So this is what it should look like at the end. Okay, so we're going to start with the untreated plate. Now, Vail comes with 2 brushes, right? Mm-hmm. The 1-inch and the 2-inch. And I actually find I like using the 1-inch on the plate cover. And if you see, if it's done properly, you really don't even have any lines. It's pretty smooth.
I don't see a single brush stroke in there.
That's what you want to go for. So we're going to open the product. Now what I did is I already shook the product and I let it settle. So you let it set for about 5 minutes so the little bubbles come out, right? So it's nice and smooth. And we're just going to apply this.
Does the temperature matter? Do you want to be sure to do this at room temperature?
Preferably. And a lot of times I'll take the plates inside. You know, if you're out in the heat 90 degrees in the sunlight, it's going to dry quickly. Mm-hmm. And you want it, like anything, you paint something, you want it to set up and flow out nicely. So yes, I believe it should be in a 70-degree range, moderate humidity. Mm-hmm. You don't want to go anything too crazy there. So yes. Okay. Now there's a variety of different techniques, and I've actually worked on something recently which gives you, I think, the smoothest coating, which is applying one direction this way, and then the second coat this way. Okay. So any slight imperfections as it flows out, you sort of mitigate instead of magnifying by doing it over and over again. You know what I mean? So by doing them perpendicular, it does. I think it does a really nice leveling. So here we go. You can apply 2 coats on the front, or 1 coat on the front and back, or 1 coat on that, and then 1 on the plate. You can do a couple things. You
don't have to be too worried about this, right? You can. You've got alcohol here. If you feel like you've made a mistake, it's fairly simple to remove the product.
Very simple.
So don't be scared that you're going to ruin something. You can kind of go back and erase it and start over.
Absolutely, and we made this a waterborne coating where the previous generations were not. G4 and G5 are waterborne, so as long as it hasn't fully dried or lightly dried, you can just rinse it off with water too. You use rubbing alcohol or vinegar, household white vinegar, to soften the coating. Then you can follow up with that. And the same with the brushes. You can just rinse them. So it's like any other latex paint. So we're going to take this, and I'm going to do it this way. We're going to dip it a little bit. Okay, can you see that? We're going to dip the brush. I'm going to let it drip a little bit, and then I'm going to apply like this. See, so we just do it nicely, and I apply it, then finish on one brush. So that's the way it should be applied, one coat. Can you see a little? It's almost not noticeable.
Yeah,
So,
it looks from a distance clear.
yeah. So
So that's what you call one light coat.
one light coat, and you can work this a couple times, and with the cooler temperature, like you said, you can brush and rebrush. So that's that. I'm going to do one in the center, like I did before. See how? Oh, I got a little bit on that, but that's okay. We're just working with something below the plate so it doesn't get on the cloth. Okay. See how easy it goes on? Just brush it. And I finish like this.
Looks like you've done this once or twice.
Yeah. But you know, the funny thing is we've never done an application video on a plate cover. But we've been getting questions, particularly because of those other videos of some of the people online, the one testing group, another individual. And it's just grossly misapplied. So, and you see how easy I can just clean that up. Okay.
Yeah, look at that.
So there are two, and then I'm gonna basically duplicate what we have over here. In some respects, I'm gonna go to the third section. All right. Now in this case, I'm doing a vertical stroke, as you can see. All right. Just get it to where it's nice and level. Okay. Take the drip. And what you can do too is you can let it sit out. You can stand it vertically or this way, or you can just let it sit, which is I'm going to do. I'm going to let this go down. And while this is sitting, I'm going to go to the license plate, okay, and show you really the proper way to put it on a plate. Again, I like the 1-inch brush for this because it allows you to get into the embossed areas
Right.
easier. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing. Now, we're going to apply it. Now, this is what they were doing, just to show you how wrong. I mean, it's like you can keep piling it up, and you don't want to do that.
Yeah,
You don't
this is
want
what
to,
not to do.
right, but what you do is you just thin it out. We'll do it in one section here, right? This is one coat. Now, you know, it's going to look gray. I mean, that's what's going to happen with a white plate. But once the entire plate is the same color, a little gray, and you're outside, it's going to not be as noticeable. Okay, so I just do this like this, one direction. Finish up this way. So how does that look? See?
I think it looks good.
So can you see that? Okay. And then this will sit and dry. And I got a little drip here. So I'm going to put that plate here. See? Not bad at all.
Now, with an entire plate that color, that wouldn't attract any attention whatsoever.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. And I've never gotten pulled over, ever. Now in Pennsylvania, I mean, again, I do everything I can to do complimentary for Vail, and we actually have a black plate with white letters. Delaware has that. If you've ever seen a black plate, if you have the ability, I think you should always go for a specialty plate from the state that could be a different color. Pennsylvania also has a train plate, and it's interesting about that. Over time, it fades, so you can't almost read it visibly because the plate fades with the paint, you know, the picture versus the white letters. You'll often see that, and it's like somebody didn't think that through. But okay, so we're letting that set up.
I mean, it already looks smooth.
Yeah, it will flow out, and typically, like in these mild conditions, you give it about 30 minutes or whatever, and it should be pretty good. You can brush it even a little bit more just to get if there's a little bit of settling.
Now, would you call this, after 30 minutes when it fully dries, would you call this finished if you had done the entire plate, or would you put another coat on that?
Yeah, given, as I said earlier, the retroreflectiveness in this case, I would always recommend 2 thin coats.
Okay.
And it has to do with, not to get again too technical, forgive me for saying this, but an order of magnitude of reflection. Vail absorbs, properly applied, about 99% of light in the infrared spectrum, okay? However, if you have a plate that magnifies light effectively by 2 or 3 orders of magnitude, since that's, I hope I'm not getting too technical, logarithmic, 2 orders of magnitude is 100 times. 3 orders of magnitude is 1,000 times.
Sure.
So that 0.1, 99%, that 1%, when it moves over, you know what I'm saying? So when you do a second coat, you actually get like 99.9% because you pick up that extra digit. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but it can. So that's a technical explanation to why we recommend 2 coats in general, 2 light coats. And you can really take the teeth out. I've even seen people do this, interestingly enough. Take a slight scrub brush, like for your dishes. Not the Brillo pads, but, I guess you could do a metal Brillo pad, and just go around, and you can sort of rough that, and it dulls it. And this is similar to what the laser shield works. And I found this works very effectively. Not alone, you got to use it with Vail to get the headlights and stuff, but as you can see, if you can see that reflection, if you hit it with a harder light, and then you put that over, it diffuses it. So while this is passing all the light, it's not absorbing anything, it's just diffusing it, then you can really knock that out. So you can actually do that yourself with a little bit of scratching on the plate if you wish to do that. And then you may be able to even get away with 1 coat because you've taken away the magnification effect. So this is looking pretty good so far, right? So here we go. And now I'm going to do this while it's wet. This is 1 coat. This is a coat behind the plate. You can see it, right? So it's almost similar to what it looks like with 2 coats, but certainly not black.
Right.
So, and when this is on and out in the light, bright, it's just going to look slightly
barely even
tinted.
noticeable. I mean, if the entire plate was done smoothly, you wouldn't even notice it.
Exactly. So we're going to let that continue to dry. Okay. So I just tilted it here. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, you can also do this while it's still a little wet and starts to get tacky. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do that technique that I said before. So I'm going to take this Vail, and then I'm going to go perpendicular in my strokes, right? So let's do this. Hope you can see this. And again, you would do it across the whole plate, obviously, but we're going to do this just in sections to show how it looks differently.
Now, is the timing here what you would recommend, or would you recommend waiting a little longer before applying the second coat?
Well, it's interesting. I have found that if you leave it a little tacky and you apply it, the top coat almost slightly dissolves the bottom coat again because it hasn't fully dried, and it can congeal better or commingle the 2 coats together. So it is a little bit of a technique, like anything, and but we give you enough to do it. Now I'm going to flip this around so we can show the double coat on the other side now. Now that's 2 coats on the same side, right? Okay. So what we're going to then do, trying to give you all these examples, I'm going to take and coat the middle one with the inside, correct? And you can go this way, as a matter of fact, if you want to. You can go whichever way. I'm going to go this way.
If you're coating both sides, I
Correct.
imagine you want to keep it light on the inside, or?
Yeah, 2 light coats, right? Two light coats. I'm going to pick it up here. Okay, now this is going to have to settle out and let that sit a little bit and let that all flow out. But again, it looks similar to the 2 coats on the outside and 2 coats on the inside. Put them up. So similar.
The outside here that you just applied is
on the
looking
outside.
great now. It's all smooth.
Yeah, it takes about 15, 20 minutes on this side as well. So if done properly, here are the 3 examples. You already saw the one coat. Here's one coat on the outside, one on the plate, that section. Here's one coat on the outside and one coat on the inside. And then here's one coat on the outside and then a second coat on the outside. So as you can see, there you go. I mean, and when it dries, that's the way it should basically look. So you can see it's already very similar in appearance.
Yeah, it really is.
Let that sit. And there you go. Okay, the only other thing I need to do is to apply a second coat to the plate. Okay, so is this looking pretty good? Just to show you the example of how to properly apply it.
Yeah, I think it looks great.
Yeah, so now it's going to look a little darker, obviously. It'll flow out and get lighter as the coat flows out. I'm doing this a little quicker than
I can tell
should.
it's tacky, like
Yeah.
you mentioned. So ideally, you think maybe you should have waited.
A little bit, yeah. And I actually picked the plate up, which it's better to let it sit and flow out completely, not pitch the plate. See, I'm just going it. And then let it flow out. Let it sit and dry. So it's looking darker.
Yeah, it
You
is.
can see it is looking darker. But that's 2 coats.
Yeah.
And outside, it's just going to look gray. And if you wanted to put a plate cover on the outside, see, it's very similar. If you look at this area here behind the one that's untreated. So, yeah. And so the ones you see online that are completely black, forget about it. That's just a bogus.
It's almost intentional. I mean, it's.
Yeah, that's correct. The guys are connected to the laser jammer company, so there's $2,000 detectors and commissions to be made with a $2,000 detector. This is $97. So, anyway.
All right, Bob.
Does that look okay, guys?
I think it looks great. I want to thank you very much for demoing this application for us. I know a lot of people are going to find this useful.
Yeah, I'm glad we had an opportunity to do this the first time we did this with you, so, or anywhere.
Definitely. If you're interested in purchasing laser Vail or any of these license plate covers, now what we're showing are the photo blur anti-photo license plate cover. If you want just a plain license plate cover, you don't need the anti-photo properties. We sell those as well at our website at buyradardetectors.com, in addition to Vail, of course.
Yeah, one other thing I want to add with the laser shield, what I would recommend is you can do 1 light coat on the laser shield instead of having to do 2, if you just wanted to focus on that.
So if you could go with 1 light coat plus a laser shield instead
You're
of
golden. 2
coats on a clear shield.
Right.
Or a photo blur.
And if the state is very, very difficult with plate covers at all, and some of them are, they can be, just stick to the plate. And I don't think, if you do it right, it'll be grayer, 2 coats, but certainly not the way it's been shown online.
Looks great, Bob. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.